end of the day when they get home, I can spend the time during the day to cook and clean and to be able to go to, I want to take like walks and just to kind of get in touch with nature and really inside touch with my spiritual self. So that way I can write a good book, you know?
The August 30th evening, 4:47 p.m. This is a super new moon that's coming in. Super new moon means this south end of the moon, which is dark, is going to be very close to Earth. And this has happened after millions of years. And then the brightest part, which is the light part, September 15th, it's the full moon. They call it full micro moon.
Okay.
So that's going to be the farthest away. So because of this dynamic, we are more influenced because the new moon influences heart, full moon influences mind. So you could see we're not going to have mood swings that much, but the core of our heart, when the full moon ends, the first crescent moon begins, that point, which is 4:49 p.m. in United States, Eastern Standard Time. If you put your intention where you really want your life to be in a very simple way and being very truthful to yourself, you will manifest this for next decade, like 13 years. That's when the portal stays away.
Okay.
So like whatever you went through, if you go back in 2006, for me, 2005, 2006 was a big transition. I went through a very tough time with my husband. That's when the resoluteness came. I wrote that dysfunctional family book.
Yeah.
And I think it gave me a direction on how to, re-gear my family, put them together, because knowing you're in dysfunctional relationship is the easiest part. So how do you become the hero? How Dr. Phil says one person has to be a hero.
Yeah.
So that became my agenda until now. And now I am opening up again to see what is my agenda. My agenda is I always grew up in a very simple family, not many resources. I was a farmer's daughter, simple man's daughter. And here when I came, it's about controlling relationship and stuff. But rules were very simple. It was rigid but simple. So I fought against my view of a relationship versus the reality.
Yeah.
I couldn't accept the rules and I decided to be independent. That created more of a problem. And finally this year I am saying, the core value of my poverty was lack of resources. And the core value of my relationship with my husband was plenty of resources, not access to it, because my husband controlled the resources. So once it was the environment that controlled the resources, now a man as a head of the household controlled. So the dynamics were the same, right? You could see, it doesn't matter how far you run. You from India, you ran all the way to America, and you have the same issue.
Right.
I make all that money, and my husband says, how much you want per month? And I said, maybe $50 a week. $200, what you make is yours, rest is mine. That's how we started. So the thing is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's because of poverty I had $200, or because being married to a guy who controls my relationship, I have $200. The issue is the same. So what I had to deal with was becoming a dollaritarian. I ate only for $1, never went home on an empty stomach. And I decided to be the best mother I could to restructure, because if my babies didn't have words, I didn't have words. Okay? But that's all because of a projection of what I needed to be. Once I understood I had power, which takes a long time, then I allowed myself to hold my truth and voice it in a way that's powerful and skillful instead of getting into fights, and I got my liberation. So now the whole dynamic is gone with my husband or my father, okay? Right now, I'm in a very good space, but one thing I'm learning is understanding how to be resourceful, how to manage my debt, and not to really overstretch myself. So I pay off my mortgage and stuff and get to the next stage. That's where I'm at. For wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And for health, it's stable mood. No matter what comes at me, if I can take a deep breath and say it from my heart in a wholesome way, I've achieved a full health. See, the reason is like gut reaction, stress, yelling, screaming. All these is limbic system. Okay, that is what the emotional poverty comes in. In America, it was emotional poverty. In India, it was material poverty. It doesn't matter, right? But the reaction is the same. Yelling and screaming happens in India because you didn't have food. America, it's because you didn't feel nurtured, right? Like, so it's so interesting. So one of the things I'm learning is trust a, like I was in a restaurant. My mother-in-law invited us for all the boys to have the farewell dinner before they go back to college. So my husband, on the way, he gives me rules. This meeting is about my mother having a conversation with the boys. So you should not draw attention to what you're doing right now. And you're not allowed to like focus on yourself. Why does he have to say that? But it doesn't matter. That's how he communicated with me. So I understood the meeting, the dinner is about him and his mother, and for him to show off his fatherhood, right?
Right.
So we go to Grafton. There was a restaurant we went to. I'm just sharing just like 12 step, my strength and hope, so you could see how it is playing out in my life. So she looked at the menu, and my stepdaughter apparently just now broke up with her boyfriend. And my husband never shares what goes on with his side. Okay, it would, and just because we are going to meet with his mother, he conveniently says in the car, by the way, she broke up with her boyfriend. This is like a news, okay? Because he thinks it's gossip if he shares that information with me. But because his mother is going to share, he wants to be the first one to tell me. So, it's a lot of things I need to process. So when I go there, I didn't even know why he said that. My mother-in-law says, by the way, my granddaughter, my husband's first wife's daughter, she shaved off her head, just like Britney Spears, has a little buzz like hair growing, which is like a shock to me because I didn't know it happened.
Right.
I didn't even know she had like breakup until 10 minutes before my husband told. Otherwise, I would have confused why she shaved, because he gave me one information extra. This was not really coming at me very fast, and also I'm not allowed to ask questions. I mean, that's not what he said, but so I said, oh, that's interesting. So then it dawns on me. So my mother-in-law makes a comment because she doesn't want to be a dumb blonde anymore. So which means what? When they had a breakup, something must have exchanged for her to be hurt by that word, right?
Right.
So so then we had the menu, and I decided to just order an omelet.
Right.
My husband says immediately, why don't you order pot roast? Because I cannot cook it for you. Whereas omelet, I can easily make it for you. So that way you can experience it.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind, I didn't care. Immediately, because my mother-in-law is so activated by all this, she looks at me, she says, don't let him talk over what you want to do. She says, are you okay with it? So, it was very interesting, the dynamics, right? So I said, no, that's fine. What he says is right. I said, he easily could. But the minute she said that, my husband is so sensitive. He pulls back. He folds his hand in the middle of the dining table and pulls away when we want to take a picture. So immediately, in my mind, I'm thinking, is he annoyed at me? Did I do something wrong? Because that's the way I think. Immediately we take it in, right? We kind of say, did I do something that made him look at this? This is our family picture. How he put his hand in the middle and he's pulling away, and he this is all he's trying to not show that he's hurt, right?
Right.
He doesn't put put his hand over me and stuff. So I came closer to him. We took a picture. So at night, it just hurt me. All these, like, him telling not to speak up, not draw attention. It's so humiliating, like I'm like saying.
Oh, I can imagine. I
So,
would feel that way.
but I have to like deal with him in a way that makes me looks like an adult, make me look from compassion. But it's very challenging, these relationships. So, like, that's why I'm saying this dysfunctional part is like way beyond what I can describe. So at night, I couldn't take it anymore. So I told my husband, I said, Keith, why did you pull away from me when we were doing the pictures? And I said, is there anything I did to offend you? That's the first thing I wanted to understand. He says, no, no, no. But I was so happy you came close to me and hugged me. So that's when it dawned on me. It's not me. He's hurt by his mom.
Right.
The whole thing. And now I was playing it as though it's my problem. It was not even my problem. It was so stupid. Right? Like, because I was not in that space that I could grow above him. And the minute he said that, I said, oh my God, is this all it's about? So evening my eldest one, meantime, my middle one, sorry, the next day took him to Vermont and he dropped it off. He came back and we all wanted to eat out. And my eldest one and my youngest one, I gave them $8 each to go eat out. And my husband, I asked, do you want to eat out? He said, usually on the weekend, I'll treat them. He says, no, I'm all set. I don't know what was going on with him. But you know what I did when the kids were going back to college? I gave them $50 domino card for my youngest one and my middle one. My eldest one wanted McDonald's card. That's the max you could load anyway for the cards.
Yeah.
So this way I felt like, going back to college, they can eat what they want. And I told them when they run out, I'll load it up more.
Yeah.
So going back to college, kind of like school supplies, in my mind, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So on a whim, I bought on an impulse, $20 card for me, for McDonald's.
Right.
So my husband says, no, I don't want anything. So I told him, you know what? I'm going to give you a McDonald's card. This way, I treat you here. This is the first time I treated him like my kid. And you know how happy he was?
Really?
This is so. And actually, I was watching Dr. Phil that day. Dr. Phil says, when you're in recovery, remember your emotional harassment of growth is the space when you started abusing drugs. And it just hit me that day. And I'm saying, he's a little boy still trying to please his mom.
Right.
And he's not getting ahead because she's treating him like an adult. But he's a little kid.
Right.
And that's the first time it dawned on me. That's why, I gave him my McDonald's card and I didn't tell him I got it for me. But I was thinking, oh my God, is it this simple?
Right. We're overthinking it a little too
Yes,
much. And it's much more, yeah.
And so yesterday my teacher did the same thing. He does the 12-step with us. He says we have 4 pieces to us. One is the core flesh body, 25%. He calls it matter.
Yeah.
Right? So matter also has its needs, right? Food and stuff.
Yeah.
The second thing is the emotional part. He called it manas. Manas doesn't mean mind. It's the limbic system that creates a value system that bases our decision, right? So it is a core of how we perceive what's being told, how we understand logically, and how we visualize the problem. All 3 together creates this limbic. Limbic literally is in the mesenteric place where the sympathetic nerves are gut reaction.
Yeah.
They call it second brain, where the mesentery anchors. It's in the back of the spine. That's why actually it's where the belly button is on the opposite side.
Yeah.
So we have that gut-wrenching reaction, right?
Right.
And it is primitive brain. It is influencing our hypothalamus. It's we react, don't even understand. Thank God I was able to process. Imagine, like, I was not processing, I would have acted out, I would have been pissed off at him and I'd have been like miserable and I would have made it really bad.
Right.
So the limbic system is manas. So if you understand and like not really associate what's happening with the past and really validating, hey, what's your intention for saying that? Right? Like that gives us a pause. That's why buying breathing space. Like, we are not reacting. We are actually taking a few breaths and then responding. So that is an adult type of reaction, which not many people can do. And then the third one is intelligence, intuitive intelligence. How intelligence happens is like, the information I got where my stepdaughter broke up, the hair was shaven off, the menu being ordered, and my mother-in-law correcting. Like, you could see the dynamics and how it played out. And like as an adult, like it's four information coming at you, but it's all connected.
Right.
So then the last one is Atma, which is pure light and bliss. When we wake up in the morning, we are super happy. It's only the world that gets at us and makes us interact with the world with all this information which we have no idea how to process. So, but the soul is very, very simple. It just relies on a simple truth. The minute I understood all the truth, it didn't activate me at all.
Right.
Right? Like, so each time you make a decision based on what is playing out, but it takes lots of wits together and paying attention. See, if I had not been aware and I was like, checking my phone and not listening, I would have totally been clueless. Right? So it takes.
I was listening to something, what exactly what you're talking about. I was listening to this thing about spiritualness and the chakras and things like that, and how people get connected with the soul, and how your soul, your ego sometimes takes more precedent than your soul. But if you listen to your soul, it's the more of the wisdom that really comes, that because it's lived so many lives and all of that, and that if you listen more to that and let the ego be quiet, you live a more fulfilling and understanding of life.
See, ego is about creating an attachment to that event, like how I fit in. My identity is more important to that event. But if you sidestep the identity part and lose yourself to the truth, you lost your identity to the truth, your soul will wake up. See, the truth, soul always listens. Like how you said, your husband corrected you, initially were upset, that is ego.
Right.
But eventually you could see the truth.
Right.
And you were so happy.
Right.
Right? That's the same dynamic. You were saying it in another way than what I'm saying.
No, that's right. That's
right. What he said. He said everything is 25%. So 25% matter, 25% emotional brain, 25% intuitive brain, 25% soul. But he says by cutting down the matter to less, limbic system to less, intuitive intelligence to less, growing the soul is what our life is about. I thought that was so beautiful the way he said it.
No, that is so true. It is about growing the soul. We came here with a purpose.
Yes.
And when the soul, when the brain starts forming in the womb, from what I was listening to this guy say today, was that we create the ego is created, and that we go on this journey with our soul, and then by the time we hit almost to 40, we're trying to turn back the soul on, and then the soul wants to help, and if you don't connect with your soul by the time, like I think he said, like 40, 50 years old, to do that self-service, you lose connection with it all completely. So it's really trying to find that connection with it.
That's when you become lost, like how your friend, she's still not grounded. The reason is you need to be fixed in matter, but matter shouldn't be the major part of our existence. Same thing, limbic system is not major part of our existence. Intuitive intelligence, which is based on ego and stuff, is not major part. The major part is how we service others through our soul, right? Like it doesn't matter what it is. So like you chop off like 15% of your ego, like keep it less. Like just kind of what you did, I'm using another word,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he said it in another way, which kind of made sense to me. So he says make it 15%, like, the other one. Like instead of doing equal opportunity employer, you say, oh, you know what? I'm going to cut down your position because you're not serving me now. I'm going to grow this. But there are some days in winter, I've seen my body wants more attention. It's okay to sleep, relax. Like what I'm saying is, whatever you feel called to, do it with very, very happy attitude, with a simple brain. Like don't make it like so complicated, right? Hey, you want to have like a big meal? Okay, it's all right. Don't think you're like being guilty, you're fancy.
Right, right,
Just indulge, but don't make it like a big deal,
right,
because that's what I think I got lost originally. Because like I was trying to be nice, and niceness is useless quality. Nobody cares for it. Like because the reason is our ego says, "Look at me, I did all this, and nobody said thank you." Like
right,
so in the long run, we sabotage ourselves by trying to be nice, because that was not what they were looking for in the first place.
right,
So I found yesterday teaching, when my teacher said that kind of made sense. Like, hey, my God, like, this guy is right.
right.
But he says it in another way because he uses culture and stuff. Like, I decided to make it like my way, because he says even the original Bible on Bhagavad Gita, when they were written, God said something, but the commentators in the back, right, like St. Luke, Corinthians, and other stuff, they made a comment of the Bible, right?
Yeah,
So what they understood was
right,
another distortion of the original word.
right,
So he says then commentators, and then it get to which you have lost the original teaching. Instead, go back to the original teaching and use it practically for you, and keep your truth very simple. He says this is the four core things always is the same.
right,
So he says don't complicate it. God will never judge you because you failed, you did something wrong, you reacted. He says reaction is normal. God knows we are going to screw up.
right.
So he wants us to screw up because he wants us to learn from our
I was just gonna
mistakes.
say that. Yeah, 'cause he wants us to learn. Like
Yeah.
I don't take any of the things that I've made a mistake, and that's what I was trying to tell her was all the mistakes that I've made. Sometimes it feels like it's overwhelming, it's stressful at that point. But when you look back and when you grow from it, you realize I needed to go through
Yes.
that. I needed that lesson. I needed to learn that, because now you become you hire yourself to really understand. The more trouble you go through, you grab more wisdom in life. And that's why they say, like, the older are
Yeah.
wise, because they've been through so many things. And it's if we don't go through anything, how do you learn about what life really is all about?
I feel it's all right. Like, no, I feel my whole lesson when I look back at my life is my mom actually in energy. After she died, she told me your life is about longing. I thought, why the heck is she saying that? But I understood afterwards, like after living all this time, my purpose was to understand how to earn for love, how to beg for attention. That's what happened in India and here. But that's a piece God doesn't understand. He wants us to live those emotions. And my teacher says it in another way. He says, originally you disagreed with God. That's why he gave you human existence. Right?
Right.
He said, go learn and come back.
Right.
So if I keep being miserable, I didn't learn my lesson. So he says the suffering is because you feel suffocated by the time restraint on what results you want to achieve. Instead, he says, don't look at it as time restraint. You are being given unlimited time.
Right.
So, for example, he used somebody slaps you. Okay, it's not very painful, but the ego says, "Why me?" In spite of doing this, so that creates that suffocation inside, and that makes it very painful.
Right.
So he instead, I was watching a Chinese father. He was eating ice cream. Okay, it was on the YouTube video. I don't know whether YouTube saw it. This child, so when he's not looking, he takes a bite of the ice cream. And when the child looks back, he could smell something in his father's mouth. And he goes near, he smells it. And then he's like looking where the ice cream is. So he takes another bite, the father.
Yeah.
Finally, the child, somehow he can connect it and he slaps his mouth. So the father smiles. So, like, that's because it's a child that's slapping his mouth. It's okay. And he knows what he's doing.
Right.
But whereas if somebody else did it to us, oh my God, we would be so hurt.
Right.
Yeah. No, but like I'm just digressing. But like I wanted to share this with you because this way, this is what I learned, and it gave me hope. Because from now on, I decided I'm going to never worry about being my way. I'm going to be unconditional motherly love. That's my share I wanted to give for you guys. Because mothers don't put condition on their babies. And my husband, I have decided to take him on as my foster kid. I'm going to
Well,
grow
that's
him.
how I look at everybody. Like, they're all my little kids that I'm trying to nurture them. I just have to learn to have a little bit more patience with everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm so proud of you. You know,
Thanks.
you're the best one I have ever seen as a
Aw,
mom.
thanks.
I appreciate you visiting me.
No problem.
Okay. I love you. I'm going to put the sharing I did on the YouTube. You can watch.
That's fine.
Yep.
Uh,
Bye-bye.
Will you just let me know when it went through?
It already went.
Oh, okay.